This episode of My Best 11 Pod is sponsored by Mandy's Homemade Bath Bombs.
Welcome to another episode of My Best 11 podcast. Today, myself and Marv. Hi, Marv. How are you going?
I'm good, thank you, Andrew.
Good. We've got another one of your ex-teammates on this episode, and we are very, very pleased and privileged to have somebody I would say I remember so fondly for his time at Luton. And particularly, I know there's a lot of Burnley fans, twice Burnley, and also had a couple of stints as caretaker manager as well there, not too long ago as well, obviously before the Dyche Revolution and things like that. So today we have, joining us is Steve Davis. So welcome, Steve. Nice to have you on.
Thank you. Thanks very much. Thanks for the invite. Good to see you both.
It's great to see you. Great to have you on. So what we're going to do is we're just going to launch straight in. I know Marv's spoken to you a little bit about how we structure our pods, and we're going to launch straight in. And first of all, before we do that, I just want to ask, how difficult was this? I've always wondered, was this something you found really difficult? We've had a few people on who spent hours and hours doing this, and then we've had a couple of people, I reckon, that did it on the back of a chip packet in the car on driving on the way here. What about yourself?
No, well, it was difficult, to be fair, because you obviously you're looking back over the different clubs you've been to, and you're conscious as well that you don't want to leave people out. You know, Marv's been left out, unfortunately, but there's nothing I can do about that.
I got broad shoulders. I can take that, there. Don't worry. I got broad shoulders. I can take that. It's fine.
Yeah, I'm sure you can, Marv. But yeah, it is. It's difficult. It's difficult. I was lucky enough and fortunate enough to play with some good players, but obviously you can only pick 11, as all the good managers say. So that's what I've tried to do.
Excellent. And we'll start off then. You're talking about management. Obviously, one of the big things for managers, particularly these days, is formation. And you can see patterns and trends and things like that going in and out. Yourself, what formation have you gone for?
I've gone for a 4-2-3-1. So, yeah, I've gone for...
Interesting.
Yeah, I'll not divulge too much, but I've gone for a couple of sitters in midfield, and I've gone with some flair, not too much pace, but a bit of flair, and all the front three, not including the centre forwards, can all interchange positions. So it's a team full of creativity. That's all I'm going to say at this moment.
Fantastic. We're looking forward to this. And as ever, listeners, we'll let Steve, he'll give us a few clues as we go through each person. So try and guess in the car or on the commute, whatever it is you're doing, as we go through. So I'll hand over to Steve to start us off with the goalkeeper. Yeah.
In goal for me, I picked a player when I first went to Burnley in the first season. We managed to get promotion into League One as it is now, and during that season we'd had 3 or 4 keepers. We'd had a couple of injuries and losses of form and stuff, but we needed a more permanent keeper. So we signed a young lad at the time from Sheffield Wednesday. He came in, and on his debut against Rotherham, he was absolutely outstanding. He made some unbelievable saves. He's got a lovely, wonderful left foot, very good at penalties. And just a genuine all-round good goalkeeper. So Marv will tell you as well. Have you got it?
Is it Marlon?
Yes, it is.
Oh, I wasn't sure because I wasn't sure if he was at Sheffield Wednesday. Marlon Beresford. Yeah.
You started then. You know as well, Marv. As when you're a defender, you sometimes you need someone behind you that you can rely on and you trust. Yeah. And that's what Marlon gave us at that point at Burnley. And we managed to get another promotion with him and the team at Wembley in the playoffs. And obviously he went on then and had a good career. He ended up at Luton. I think he had a couple of spells, didn't he? And
yeah,
Fargo kicked in, and he went somewhere else, but then came back and got another promotion, and just a good keeper and a great lad as well to boot. Popular with the supporters as well at all the clubs I think he played at. So top goalkeeper.
Yeah. He was never the biggest, was he? In terms of frame, I remember watching him down at Kenilworth, and I didn't have 100% confidence on crosses. Shot stopping, arguably one of the best shot stoppers I've ever seen.
Yeah, he was he did have a few shouts of yours, mine away when crosses were coming in.
That's most goalkeepers say that anyway, don't they?
It is, without a doubt. But yeah, I agree. You know, like shot stopping and penalty saves as well. He made a few for Burnley. I don't know whether he did for Luton or not, but yeah, he was very good all-round keeper. Yeah.
Did you say he took penalties as well?
No, he didn't.
Sorry, he was good at saving them. Sorry, I misunderstood.
Yeah. Well, he saved one. He saved one. I got sent off against Tranmere in the last minute of the game, and John Aldridge was taking the penalty as I was walking off. I'd just gone up the tunnel, and it was one each at the time. And last minute of the game, and Marlon saved it. So I was in his debt on that day.
What was he like as a keeper? Was he a shouter or a quiet one? Was he like on a training ground, that type of thing?
No, he was very laid back. Very very much. He wasn't a keeper you would bracket in the mad sort of goalkeepers. Like I've played at Southampton with John Burridge, and he was a complete and utter nutcase. You know, I think he started the mad goalkeeping sort of phrase that they come up with now. You've probably seen his warm-ups from Crystal Palace and all those sorts of times, but he was nuts. Marlon was quite calm and composed and pretty much a sort of very steady.
He was, to be fair. You're quite right about that. When they say about like goalkeepers are a little bit crazy, Marlon was very, very leveled, wasn't he? Level. Yeah. There was no like off the chart thing. You're thinking, oh my gosh, there he goes, like typical goalkeeper. But he wasn't like that. He wasn't like that at all, Marlon.
He was one I thought as well, where you know when you keepers are in the net to make saves and keep the ball out the net. And he did that, but he wasn't one, if he made a save, that he would get up and start shouting at the back four.
No, he wouldn't.
You know, what you doing? Close him down, and he was not one of those, which I think was a good trait. He just quietly went about his job, and he was good at it.
Fabulous. So moving on. So you've gone for 3 defenders, and no, we'll 4. Let you. Oh, 4. Sorry, 4, yes. 3. Sorry. I was thinking.
2, 3, 1.
I had 3 in my head. 4. Yeah, 4, 2, 3, 1. Yes. Yeah. So you're on 4. What? We'll start off with full-backs, either or, right or left back. And I know you've just put Marv out of his misery already for the left back one.
I'll go right back first. He's part of a very, very exclusive club. There's not many players in the history of football who've managed to do what this lad's done. He's an international as well. He's signed for one particular club on the same day that I signed. We stayed in the hotel together for 3 months. You've got to know. You're spoiling this game, you Marv. You've got to know.
I'm not spoiling it. I'm not. Listen, I've not said a single word yet. I've not said a name yet. Well, go on, carry on a little bit. I'm sure they've got it.
So I was fortunate enough to play with him. He was Mr. Versatile, Mr. Dependable. You knew week in, week out what you were going to get from this lad, and I was fortunate enough to coach him as well, or be his coach at Burnley latter in his career, and he managed to play to a ripe old age and got to where he deserved to be at the end of his career as well, which was the Premier League. He was absolutely superb. He sort of reinvented himself as well in his later career. Started to play in front of the back four, and he's just his intelligence and his game knowledge, and he wasn't the quickest. I think he was never the quickest. But he knew where to put himself on the pitch, and he's as well as being a very, very good footballer. He's now a successful manager, but a great lad as well. So you know who he is, Marv. And you probably do, Andrew, as well.
Yeah, I've got him. Yeah. Graham Alexander. Yes.
Correct. Yes.
Correct. Yeah. Unbelievable.
Now manager at Salford City, I think.
Yes, that's right. Yeah.
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 So did you play with him both at Luton and Burnley?
No, I didn't play with him at Burnley, but I was the coach when he came to Burnley.
Okay. Yep.
So yeah, he was different class. Played at right back. He played up one as well as a wide right, didn't he, Marv, when he first came to Luton?
Well, I don't know if you remember the story. Like came as a right midfielder, and then he felt he wasn't getting enough of the ball or getting on the ball enough. So he said, I don't know, was it Terry or Wesley or Lennie that, I want to play right back now.
Yeah.
I want to play right back. I want to play right. I want to be on the ball more. And so, I mean, he knew from that age I don't know what age he was when he first came to Luton, but he knew.
He was 21.
Was he 21? So
yeah.
So he knew then that, how he saw the game, how he wanted to be, like you said, reinvent himself for the first time, that to get involved in the game more by playing that right back. Because again, you can see everything from that position, really, can't you?
Yeah, he was different class, and even to latter in my career as well, when my legs had gone, turn and put me in the middle of the park as well, and I found it so difficult. All of a sudden you've had everything in front of you, and now you've got people behind you, and you've got to check your shoulder, and people in front, and when you're receiving the ball, opening yourself up and all that sort of stuff. But Greza was such a good footballer, great awareness, and I mean, he even played at left back for his country against France, I think, marking Anelka. So he was a top footballer, and to play 1,000 games for any player is unbelievable. Great achievement.
Definitely loved his haircuts as well. I remember. Didn't he have bleached blonde for a while? Or am I imagining something?
He did. There's a funny story behind that, actually, because I don't think I was living with Greza, because when Greza moved into his house before I could move out the hotel, but where I was moving to wasn't ready, so I stayed and lived with Graham and Kaz, his wife, and we decided. I think it was. I don't know why we did it, but
was it a cup game?
It was a cup game, yeah. And we said, "Come on, we'll dye your hair." I think it was Greza's idea. So his wife dyed his hair, and then with the same stuff, she had to go up my hair as well. But for some reason, my hair didn't come out, and Greza turned blonde. So it was like, and he thought Kaz had stitched him up and sort of done his hair, but not put the proper stuff on my bonnet. So I got away with it. So there you go.
Fantastic guy. And a left back. Where are you going for? Left back? Are you going for a bit of pace?
I'm going with a bit of athleticism. He could run all day, this lad. Another one who's had a superb career. Played with him at 2 clubs. One of them, he'd sort of reinvented himself a little bit later on in his career. And he's played as a left side centre half. He's a very, very quiet lad, unassuming.
That's not Marvin. It's definitely not Marvin then.
No, it's definitely not Marvin. He had a good career. He liked to talk about a cup final he played in, and he liked to talk about a couple of goals he'd scored against Arsenal in the North London derby. So there's a few clues. You don't know, Marv?
Gavin McGowan?
No, scored a couple of goals in the North London derby.
That was my guess. He was a gooner.
Played in an FA Cup final.
You're not talking about Mitchell?
Yes, Mitchell.
Mitchell?
Yeah.
Because you said you said he's quiet. You said something like he's quiet and not. Well, you said something that threw me. He's not quiet.
I know. He's quiet and unassuming. I was throwing you.
I know you did. You did. That's what I hoped.
He's the exact opposite.
Yes, you're right.
Yeah.
No.
So yeah, Mitchell Thomas is a left back.
Yeah, what was he like? What was he like to play with? I mean, because as much as you said, he's a big personality, and I know he's really. We've heard a few stories from Marv about him. But in terms of for yourself, what was he like as a man around a dressing room? Experience, played at the top level as well, as you say, North London derby.
Yeah, that's right. He was great when I first joined. Obviously, I'd I was one of these lads when I grew up. I'd loved football and took notice of cup finals and, you know, players for the past. And obviously Mitch, I knew Mitch had played in the cup final and had a great career up until that point. And just going in the dressing room, you know, and meeting these lads, and Gary Waddick as well at the time, and the likes of Marv, who we played against in as youth team footballers as well. But Mitch was, despite his career, was just a really down-to-earth lad as well. You know, he did like to have a joke and say, you know, he played in the cup final and let you know he played at the top level and in an England squads and whatnot. But deep down, he was a great lad and a good teammate. And if he was playing, everything was fine. But I'm sure you remember when he didn't play, with a certain assistant manager at the club, he could stand his ground, like, and if he wasn't happy, he'd let you know as well. So, and he let Mick McGivern know, didn't he? what he thought.
I forgot about that. Yeah.
You can't say that, and then you can't talk coded. We're all open.
So Steve, you got to tell the story, because I can't really remember the story. The full story. That's been me being truthful. I can't remember the full story.
He couldn't get in the team at the time, and I think Mick McGivern had said, you know, you need to do this and you need to do that and you need to work harder in training. And Mitch just sort of turned around and just said, "Yeah, all right, Mick," and just walked off. left him to it and thought, and he just sort of left him with, "You don't know what you're going on about." And Mick was a good coach and he was knowledgeable. You know, he'd had a good career as well, but Mitch was just one of them where he could treat you with contempt at times and just look at you. He could just give you that look and walk off and go, "Nah."
Yeah. All right. Yeah, you're right. Actually, yeah.
Yeah, he was good, Mitch. Really good.
But he was right. He was a very good athlete, and loved to play, didn't he? Just loved to play. I mean, little small passes and all that stuff, give and goes. So yeah, he was a really good athlete and a good player, to be fair to Mitch.
Top player, top lad as well. And he did reinvent himself when his legs had gone a little bit at Burnley. Like I said, he came in and played a left side centre half, and he was a great defender. Tough to play against, you know, like any centre forwards knew they were in a game if they were up against Mitch. Like he was a good player.
What was he like at shooting? I mean, what are fullbacks like generally at shooting? And centre backs, really? Do you boys practice that type of stuff, or is it a case of if you fancy it, you just have a wallop? Because they only ever score spectacular ones, or centre backs only ever score with their heads.
Not Mitchell. Mitchell couldn't shoot. Mitchell could pass the ball longer than what he could shoot. He could.
Yeah, he could. He wasn't renowned for his goal scoring. I think that's why he always talks about the two he scored against Arsenal. I think because they were the only two. So, but I used to love to stay behind after training and just pepper balls into goal. There's no better feeling than sticking the ball in the back of the net. So
even as a centre back throughout the years, that's something that's you still got that kid about you, really, putting the ball in the top corner in the bucket or the bins.
Yeah, definitely. Well, my lad's a goalkeeper at in Preston's academy at the minute, so when I go out with him, it's perfect for me because I'm trying to pepper him past him now. So it's great. Gives him a bit of practice if I can hit the target. That is.
Steve used to score quite a few goals, and even I think I read somewhere, because I believe it or not, I do try and do some research. Steve, we've done on the guest before. You've got a ratio, I believe, at Burnley, 1 every 10.
Wow.
1 goal in every 10 games.
Yeah,
that's high. That's high for a defender. Every 10 games.
Yeah, I was lucky. I scored 76 in my career. So
wow.
Only 1 penalty in that. So that was in league and cup games. But I was fortunate enough. I don't know. Just fortunate enough to manage to nick a few goals. And there was one season. I think it was the season I left. It was the season I left to go back to Burnley, and I'd scored 10 before Christmas. Yeah. And it was one of those where I just thought every time I go on the pitch, I'm going to score. You know, if we get a corner, I'm going to score. And I can't remember who I spoke to, but I said, can you imagine how, say, Thorpe felt? You know, that season Thorpe had?
Yeah.
You know, where he must have known he was just going to score and everything was coming up for him. And you know, the likes of Shearer, who you know managed to back 30-odd goals nearly every season. It must have been an unbelievable feeling to know you were going to score most games. So, yeah.
Oh, awesome. So moving on to centre backs.
Yes.
Have you put yourself in?
No, I've not. I've left myself
Wow.
out. Yeah.
No one's done that yet. No one's put themselves in yet. Everyone we've spoken to, no one's put themselves in yet. No.
No. I thought it was only right because it's the best players I've played alongside, and there's probably not he's not a household name. The right centre back that I'll talk about, but he was a massive influence on my career. When I left Southampton to go to Burnley and started playing first team football more regularly, he was an experienced player at the time. He played in the Premier League or the old First Division for Wolves. He was an uncompromising centre half. He captained Burnley to the Division 4 title, and he was captain at Wembley when we won in the playoffs as well. So he won 2 promotions. It'd be a difficult one. I don't think you'll get him, but he's in the team because he had such a big influence on the way I played, and the partnership that we built up over those 2 or 3 seasons was very good. We sort of complemented each other in the way that we played.
One more clue: was Burnley his main club, or did he go a couple other places where he established himself?
He probably Burnley was probably the club where he played the most, I think. But he played in the old First Division for Wolves as a young lad.
I haven't got it. Andrew, you got it, Andrew?
No way. No.
It is a difficult one for probably a lot of people. Probably Burnley supporters, if they're listening, would get it. But it's John Panda. I don't know.
Oh. I've heard of him.
Yeah, he was obviously the way I like to play. I used to bring the ball out and play a little bit, whereas John wasn't as comfortable on the ball, but he was a good, solid defender. You know, he was a captain, and he led by example. Not with shouting and bawling and all the rest of it, but led by what he did on the pitch, and he was superb for me. And he taught me a lot, spoke to me a lot, and a really good pro, really good pro, and a good lad as well.
Yeah, no, sounds it. And was he a 6'5" guy, or was he a little? Sorry, I don't know too much about him.
Yeah, he was 6'1". He wasn't massive height wise, but he was big and strong. And you know, back in the day, you know, the likes of, you know, we playing in the 4th Division against Billy Whitehurst and these types of lads. And he used to love he loved a battle, and he loved a fight. And you know, he could he didn't ask a quarter, and he didn't give one either. He was a good defender. Yeah, John Panda, the defender. The Burnley supporters.
Gotta love football fans.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, they're different class. Yeah.
So the other centre back, who have you gone for there?
Well, there was a few that I could have chosen, but I did go for another one who's quite modest, quite quiet. He was a one-club legend. He obviously played a lot of games, played his whole career at one club. And like with John as well, I sort of complemented each other with the way we played. He was a natural left footer. He was quicker than what I was. So from that point of view, we complemented each other in the way that we played. There was one particular game against in the cup where he managed to pop up right at the last minute with the goal. It was a to and fro the game, and it was like it was the best Luton game that I'd had in my career and my time at Luton, and he popped up with the winner in the last kick of the game, and it was a great moment, and he's a great lad, and like I said, he's a one club legend.
Was this a team in East Anglia?
Have I made it? Have I made it there? Have I made it?
You've made it, Marv. You're in.
The first one. Yes.
You're
get in.
I might have just dropped you, Marv, because I've just seen your pajama bottoms there.
Hey, it's now 7:20 here in the US. Not 20 past what? Is it 20 past 12 to you?
No,
wow.
Yeah.
Oh,
But no,
listen, you didn't have to put me in there. Come on, I don't want
No.
little.
no, there
Go on,
wasn't.
carry on talking then. Go on.
Carry on talking about me.
Yeah, exactly. But no, it was a good partnership. I thought, and we did complement each other, and Marv was one as well. He played the game with a smile on his face, but uncompromising as well. You went to be serious and just a good team player, and you know, great in the dressing room, and a top player. You just picked Ian Cox, the lad from Bournemouth.
Oh, Coxie! Oh, wow, Coxie is a great defender as well.
Yeah,
Coxie,
he was.
Wow.
Yeah, he was a Rolls Royce, Coxie. You're a Bentley.
Yeah. Thank you, Bear. Now, I'm thinking back on Mark. How long was you at Luton for? Do you remember?
3.5 years.
3 years.
3.5 years. So,
Yeah.
I was obviously there all my career, and like you just said, I felt we had a real good connection, a good partnership, and across the years I was there. I've played with many central defenders, but the only two really who I felt that there was me and them who had a good partnership that we were playing, and I felt I can remember a lot of games and stuff was you and Trevor Peake. And that's why I just thought to myself, how long? I didn't think he was there that long, because you came, and then I thought it seemed like when you was there, it was an age, but then now you just said 3 years. I thought it was like something like 6 years. That's how I mean. It felt like literally. Showed how comfortable I felt with you and stuff. But at the time, it was Terry Wesley. Was it who brought you? Was it Terry Wesley? Terry Wesley.
Terry was the manager when he brought me in, but I think from what I was told, I think David Pleat had mentioned me, Terry Wesley, because we'd had
I think that was
a couple of good games when I was at Burnley against Luton, where I think we beat you. I don't know how we beat you down at Kenilworth Road 1-0. We got absolutely battered, but we got a goal, and we had a good game up at Turf Moor as well.
And I you can confirm this. I mean, I don't think I'm guessing, but I remember at the time, was it 800,000? Was it a lot?
Yeah,
was it 800,000?
You do well, Marv. You've done research, haven't you?
No, I just remember this. I know, but the thing is that I briefly remembered you, like as like you said, Southampton days, and then I thought, 800,000. Wow, he must have improved so much.
Yeah, it was 750.
Your face stayed blank there. I said he must have improved so much. But anyway, that fell on deaf ears, that joke. But no, and I thought.
But hang on a minute, we beat you in the youth team. We beat you 13-2.
13-1, actually.
Was it 1? Was it? I was doing you a service there by saying.
I know. That's Dave Oldfield got that goal. No, you're right. I mean, but again, like I said, I thought that's a lot of money. But then within literally months, I mean, just from training with you, I thought, wow, so comfortable on the ball, like strong in the air. I mean, that was for me one of the biggest things for us, that you popped up with so many like late goals for us. And like you said, the Ipswich game was like, that's one of the best games I've played. It isn't the best game what I've said as my most memorable game, but I can remember I've watched it a few times, not just because of the goal, but just for the whole experience, because it was two legs, wasn't it? We went to Ipswich first, got beat 2-1.
Yeah.
Come back in the second leg. David Johnson scores to put them 3-1 up.
Yeah.
And then
Potty scored.
Potty scored 3-2. And then Dougie scored 3-3. Yeah. And then you scored the header. But the best thing for me, what was so funny, is when you scored the header and then you scored the own goal, which happens. And if you watch the bench, Lennie Lawrence, the manager at the times, like, Steve, go on, go back up, like to push you back up front, sort of thing. His face was so dejected. But like you're saying, then I popped up with that last minute, and I still get.
He was a goalkeeper, wasn't he?
Yeah, he was. He was.
Yeah, he fumbled. I think it was a corner, or he tipped the corner, and you managed to pop up. And
Springy put it in, and he's gone. I think he's gone to catch it. I think he's gone with his left hand to catch it, but he's like he just. I mean, there was no time really to react. It was just like a case of me thinking, get it on target and see what happens. And it was like bang, and next thing was in the net, and then the rest is history.
I just remember you galloping away up the pitch as well with your big smile, and it was brilliant.
Funny enough, it's amazing when you think about how much energy you have there. That was 2 hours. Because that was
Yeah,
wasn't it?
117, 118. Yeah.
So I'm thinking, like, for me to be running that, the adrenaline inside me must have been like, wow, because we've had like. Yeah, good times. Oh,
it was a very, very yo-yo game, that game, and I think from memory, most of the goals were scored at the home end as well.
Yeah.
So I think it was very much the first half. Yeah. They scored a lot of the goals, and then second half. Because I know your winner was at the Kenilworth end. Yeah.
Yeah, Marv was the only one at the other end, wasn't it? Yeah.
Was it?
Yeah.
Oh wow! And they had a good team in there. They had some good players playing for them at the time.
Well, they were still in the Premier League, or they'd just been knocked down. I think they were still in the Premiership at that stage.
Yeah, I know. Johnny was playing, wasn't he? David Johnson, Kieran Dyer was there at the time.
Kieran Dyer, the one who went to Tottenham, the fullback who went to Tottenham, is he Argentinian?
Tarico, yeah.
Yeah, he went to Tottenham, and then they had
Richard Wright.
Yeah, who's that French strong centre half? I mean, was he French? I don't think he was French, but like I can remember him. He wasn't French, was he? I'm sure he was French because I remember 40 saying, "Oh, he stunk of garlic." I remember that. He did. Did not remember that. I know he was French. I'm sure he was French.
Is that why he pushed him for his goal?
yeah, with both hands and still got away with it.
I don't know how he got away with that. Yeah, but no, that was the start of the cup run as well, wasn't it? That season.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah, we had some good games. It was always a great atmosphere at Kenilworth as well on a night game.
The night games, night games are brilliant.
So brilliant, like that Coventry game as well, and the Barnsley in the cup as well. There's some good nights. Yeah, happy days.
Fantastic days.
I know Steve. I know Mitchell and Greza both played for Burnley, but that's not bad. 3 out of the back four Luton players. That's not bad.
No, yeah.
Yeah, I'm going to let you finish off the rest of the team because I'm quite intrigued as to if there is an official link or an unofficial link, because there's a hell of a lot of players that swap between the two clubs.
There isn't there? I know. I don't know.
That's true. That's true.
I mean, so far, Marlon Beresford, both clubs, Graham Alexander, both clubs, Mitchell Thomas, both clubs. That's why I'm intrigued to see where else we go. And I mean, if you've got any phone calls or friends up there, I mean, I'm sure Luton are more than happy to have somebody like Chris Wood up front for next season, or somebody like that. If you've got any contacts there, I'm sure Luton would be more than happy to take some of those boys off your hands.
Yeah, well, Tarkowski, I think he's after a move, so we could send him down as well if you want.
Oh, definitely. Chuck him down there. Anybody you like. I love Sluga, but I'm sure we'll take Nick Pope. Feel free.
Yeah, he's not bad, is he? Yeah. So no, we'll see what can do anyway, Andrew. Yeah, I'll try and put a word in.
Thank you very, very much. Obviously, not Burnley's. Sorry.
Try and get Dicey. If you can get Dicey on, then you can ask him straight out. Then
we'll ask him straight out. Can you get some transfers down to Luton?
Yeah.
Come along, please.
We'll make sure we bring him up before, what is it, the 8th or 7th of October when the transfer window closes. We'll make sure we give him
Yeah.
Yep. Marv, you're onto it.
Yep, leave it to me. Leave it to me. I'll ring him up after this pod. I'll get onto the phone with Daishi.
Mandy's homemade bath bombs. We supply bath bombs throughout the UK at great prices. We have a number of fragrances, bright colours, and ultimate fizz that will help with the relaxing time you need to recharge your batteries whilst in the bath. We supply any number of bath bombs, gift packages, or just a treat for yourself whilst you enjoy me time. We are currently taking Christmas orders, so now's the time to order direct from us via Facebook or Instagram. Just search Mandy's homemade bath bombs.
So we'll move on to midfielders. Move on to these holding midfielders, these protectors to cover Marv. Who have you got in front there?
I've gone for two experienced players, two lads that I played with both at Burnley. They were coming towards the end of their careers. One of them was a tough, uncompromising, loved to tackle, great captain, good footballer, good lad, had a couple of promotions with a club in the northeast, started his career down at Portsmouth, hard as nails.
Kevin Ball?
Correct, yes.
Yes!
Yeah.
You're smashing me at the moment. I've got hope in hell.
Sorry, Andrew.
No. It's great. It's great.
He got a few. He got a few the other day. He's beasting me the other day. He's just going bang, 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 bang. And now I'm back in the groove now.
Yeah,
now I'm coming to the forefront. Yeah.
Yeah. You're coming off the ropes, Marv. You're coming off the ropes.
Yeah.
So no, Bawley was different class. He was great for us at the time. We'd just gone into the Championship with Burnley, and he added a little bit of experience. Obviously, the times he'd captained Sunderland from the Championship into the Premier League, and great lad as well as a good footballer, and good to have him. Because I was like captain of the Burnley side at the time, and to have Bawley in the side, he was great to bounce things off. And I used to, ask his advice and say, what would you do in this situation when you were captain at Sunderland and whatnot. So he was really good. Another who wore his heart on his sleeve and wouldn't back down. There was one time actually when we played at Sheffield Wednesday. We were coming off the pitch, and Stan was the manager of Burnley. And we were winning 1-0 at the time, and Stan had said something to Bawley on the pitch, and he says, I'm going to have to knock him out when I get in that dressing room. This is what Bawley was saying. I said, Bawley, just leave it. So you're never going to win the argument, and all that'll happen is he'll take you off at half time. So just leave it, bite your lip, and don't say an out. So he said, all right, Skip, yeah, I'll just leave it. And so we went in the dressing room, and Stan had a go at him, and Bawley, to be fair to him, he did bite his lip. And he stayed on the pitch, and we won 2-0. So he was pleased with that. And he said at the end,
go on.
Thanks for that, Skip. So,
but I remember listening to another pod with Glenn Little. I don't know if you was there at the time. He told this story about, I think you lot were away somewhere, and something happened. I don't know.
Yeah, it's a Grimsby story. I think it is a Grimsby story.
No, I think it's a trip. I think it's like a trip, and you're in a bar. I think Bawley knocked out the two guys in the bar or something. No, that doesn't ring a bell.
I can't remember that. No.
He's pleaded the fifth.
This wasn't a game. This is something to do with, like, I think maybe I could be wrong, but I thought it was a Christmas party there that you lot were in fancy dress, and I'm sure that something had happened. There was some people were giving someone a stick, and then Bawley come in, and he went, not, 3 or 4 of them, sparkoed. No. Oh,
to be fair to Bawley, he was as tough as old Boots.
I know.
He was aggressive, but off the pitch, never seen him in any bother. I think he's probably one who would talk his way out of any bother, as opposed to revert to sort of.
So what was the Grimsby one then? What was the Grimsby one then?
The Grimsby one was when Stan called him a cheat. Yeah. So, which didn't go down well with Bawley, because one thing you cannot level at Bawley is you can never call him a cheat, but that was Stan for you. Stan had a way of getting people's backs up and getting the best out of players, and that's why I think he was a top manager, a good man manager. He knew his players inside out and what would get them going. So, but I think he did overstep the mark a little bit with calling Bawley a cheat.
Oh gosh, not hard.
Yeah. So who else you got next to Bawley? Yeah, next to Bawley.
Alongside Bawley, I've gone with a left footer because I want that balance. And when we get to the front players as well, he was someone who could pick a pass, could see a pass. He had great awareness, great technical ability, and with Bawley alongside him as well, he would win the ball and give it to this player alongside him. Very good player. He's been a very good manager. Just recently lost his job with a club that has just gone into some financial difficulties. I think a previous guest or a guest that you might have coming up won't know this manager, but he'll know the club in the Northwest.
I don't know. I'm my mind's blank. Andrew, you got to try and strike now with iron's hot. I'm blank.
He played back in the early Premier League days. I think he was at Wolves. He was at Coventry. He had a spell at Norwich. Too many of these spoil the broth.
Cookie.
Yes.
Cookie. Yes. Now I remember. He's a good player.
Yeah.
Who's he been sacked by?
He left Wigan. He left Wigan because they've done administration.
That's right.
So he's come out of there, but he's done really well. He had a good spell at Akron as a manager. Got Portsmouth up, Chesterfield up, got Wigan up. Yeah. So, but
He kept Wigan up if it wasn't for the dodgy.
Yeah.
That happened there. Yeah.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. So, but a good footballer, wonderful left foot, great delivery at set plays. A real good lad as well. So they're the two central midfielders. A bit of craft and a bit of brawn.
Yep, I like that.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Yeah. And then you go into attacking. So what you got up front then, or just behind? We've
got the front three. One they can interchange positions. One of them was a lad that I was an apprentice with at Southampton. When I made my first division debut against Norwich, he scored a hat-trick. And there was many games where in the youth team, I just stood at the back and just watched in awe of the things this lad could do with a football. It was quite incredible at times. Some of the goals he scored, he had an ability to score a goal from distance, but not strike through the ball, if you know what I mean. There'd always be a bit of whip on it, and it'd always be off his instep. He was a king of penalties, bar one.
Yep.
As well.
Right, Andrew, you got it?
I'm starting to doubt myself. I thought it was Matt Letizia.
Wow. Yeah, it is.
Yeah, I see. When you started talking about the instep, I was thinking, was it him?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, yep. Matt Letizia.
Yeah. He just had this ability to strike the ball 30 yards, but not strike through it straight. There would always be a bit of whip on it, but he was unbelievable. I mean, you talk about natural ability and things he could do with a football. There's times where he would just chop people inside out and dink the keeper and chip the keeper, and he could do all sorts. He was incredible. A great lad as well. Another good lad. It was great to come through with him at Southampton.
Was he that far ahead of everybody else then? Because obviously, in terms of those graduates, he was clearly the most successful.
Yeah, he was. He was unbelievable. I think he made his debut when he was 17. So he sort of advanced from the youth team. He missed out the reserves to a degree and went straight into the first team and just hit the ground running. He didn't play regularly when he first got in the first team, but I think there was only 2 subs at that time. I think, Marv, correct me if I'm wrong.
I mean, no, you're right.
There wasn't as many now as what there was, but he spent time on the bench. I don't think Chris Nicholl, the manager, trusted him to play him right from the start, but he's proved that he was more than capable throughout his career.
And even going back to those, like you said, those South East County days when we used to play each other, I remember that one particular game, which never forget, 13-1. I think he got 7 in that game. I think he got 7 goals. And we didn't see it week in, week out. You was obviously with him in training and stuff like that. It's quite surprising that he was really, like, when he was coming through, like a little Rooney, wasn't he? But there wasn't that much press about it. I don't know if there was down where you down in Southampton, but like there wasn't that much like news in the paper about this new wonder kid sort of thing. Letizia, it was quite quiet, really, I suppose. But he was a very good player.
Yeah, he was. I think he had levelled at him that he wasn't particularly fit, and he did like a Mars bar, and he'd like to die, a Coke and all the rest of it. But when it came to the running, he could hold his own. He could run. He wasn't unfit, but on the pitch, he was incredible, unbelievable.
Yeah.
And a creator of goals as well as a scorer of great goals as well. He was very good, to say the least.
So you moved on from Southampton. I've asked Marv this before as well. Do you think that Letizia should have moved on? Do you think he was, and I'm not meaning to be offensive to Southampton fans here, but do you think he was almost wasted there? Because he could have quite easily gone at the time to the top clubs, Newcastle, Man United, those type of Blackburn. It was level quite often.
Yeah, I think. I mean, I spoke to him, and he's in the past from the point of view. I don't think he's had any regrets, which I think is important. But I think he did have the chance to go to Tottenham. I think he had a chance to go to Chelsea when Hoddle was manager.
Cool.
I think, I don't know. I think you'd like to test yourself at a big club, and that's, like you say, no disrespect to Southampton, but at the time, they were punching above their weight, as Luton were as well at that time in the top league. So I would love to have seen him go and play for a top club and do the things that he could do for it, on the top level and in cup finals and on the big stages. So I've no doubt he would have been able to perform at that level, definitely, in a top side. Yeah,
no, definitely. And moving on, so obviously my logic says he plays more so in the middle, but who have you got on the kind of the sides as well? Now you say Letizia can play the side, but mostly down the centre.
Yeah, well, I've actually got him out on the right, but like I said, interchanging, because the other two that are going to go alongside him, they can all play in those three positions across the front, right, left, and in behind the striker. So in behind the striker, I've got a player played with at Burnley. He was signed in from Bradford. He scored the first goal when we got back into the Premier League for Burnley. It was a fantastic volley against Manchester United. He's now a coach at Bognor Regis Town, down on the south coast.
Andrew, you got it?
No.
Robbie Blake.
Robbie Blake. Yeah, absolutely. The magician, the little magician. He was brilliant. He was a bit like Matty from the point of view. People said he couldn't run and all, and he was overweight. But with Blake, the fact that he was quite thick set helped him with the way he played, the way he'd get his big backside into centre halves, and he could turn quickly and he could shift his feet quickly and get half a yard, and he could strike the ball over distance as well. He scored some unbelievable goals from, free kicks and from outside the box. And he actually we played against Forest, and him and Jack Lester were up front for Forest at the City Ground, and we got whooped 4-0, and it could have been double that. It could have been double figures. Him and Jack Lester absolutely tore me to shreds. It was possibly one of the worst nights I'd had. And Stan Turner, with 20 minutes to go, dragged me off. He said, he said, "I'm saving you for Saturday, Steve." And he said, "And if anyone asks in the press, you pulled your car off, okay?"
I'm sure you weren't bothered, were you? You were quite happy to get off that pitch probably that night.
That was the one time when I was absolutely delighted to get off that pitch and get in that dugout, because it was the movement, and I just couldn't. It was one of those nice, Marv, I think you've had loads of them where you just kind of get near him.
You can't say that. You picked him in your team now. You can't.
Yeah. That's football banter. That's just the norm, Andrew. That's just the norm.
Yeah, it was nice somewhere where you just have them. Where there was another one I played Palace when Dougie Friedman and Forsell were playing up front for Palace, and that was another day where that movement just killed me in behind, and I couldn't sort of match them or get near them. But it was just
I had one of them when I first got into the team, and I was playing against Palace, and at the time it was Wright and Bright, but looking how their career went, I think I was just like obviously young and naive. So I mean, it wasn't maybe that bad a night as I thought it would have been, because they literally did, as a young kid, terrorise me at Selhurst Park, the two of them. Really did.
Obviously, Wrighty came to Burnley as well, and at the back end of his career, but even in training, you know, like when the ball was out wide and you can see him and you've got him, but then you look at the ball.
Well, and then he's gone.
He's gone and he's across you and he's nicked in and he's tapping it in and running off with his arm up, and you think, where did he come from? He was there a minute ago, but yeah, great movement. And yeah, there were two top strikers then, Marv, to be fair.
Fantastic. Yes. And the other side, so who else have you got in the attacking midfield role?
The other side, we have got, he's a wide man, but like an unconventional type wide man. He was 6'3", wasn't quick, but had an unbelievable ability to chop and change direction and could get right to the byline, and he could dig a cross out. He was renowned for standing balls up to the back post for a big centre forward that we had at the time to come in and nod them home. Loves a story, great banter. He was one of them in the dressing room where you didn't have to speak because he would do all the talking for you.
London boy, is he London boy?
He's a London boy, yeah. Started at Palace, yeah. Then went to Ireland, and then the club I'm talking about, where I played with him, signed him from Ireland. But really funny lad, but a top player as well. Eventually got his move into the Premier League. He went to a team in the Championship. Well, yeah, he went to Bolton actually. Then he went to Reading, and they got promoted with a record number of points. And then he played in the big league.
Glenn Little,
that's it. Yeah, he was superb, and like I said, with alongside Blakey and Matty, you know, there was a lot of creativity there, and people that could see a pass and put balls in the box for the big centre forward that we've got coming up next. So I think it's a good front three to play behind me centre forward.
So you said Glenn Little was quite a comical man, and by the sound of it, as we know, he's quite happy to dish out some stories. So have you got any stories on Glenn? Any pranks he played, or were you out of all those?
It wasn't one who sort of pulled pranks. He was one that would just got himself into bother for some reason. You know, like it was once I wasn't actually on the bus. It was before I'd signed, but Burnley had played down at Bournemouth, and Paul Crichton, the goalkeeper, had made his debut, and Burnley got beat 5-0. And as happens on the way back from, you know, some people get dropped off at certain points and whatnot, and Crichton got off the bus, and Glenn shouted, "Great debut, Crichton," like that down the bus. And Stan was sat behind him, I think, or certainly next to him, and he whacked him on the top of the head with a bottle of beer. As he got off and said, "Shut up, Blakey."
Confidence builder.
Yeah, and he had a few run-ins with Stan, but it was like a love-hate relationship with him and Glenn, because he knew on a Saturday like he could produce the goods for him as well. But he's a funny lad. Like he used to take Stan off as well before games, like, and he had the lad and pictures in the dressing room. He was brilliant. You'll have to try and get him on.
I spoke to him on Twitter a couple of times, and because I listened to it, he was on another podcast, and the stories were hilarious. And yeah, you're right, he is one person who we'll have to try and get on, because his stories are just. We went in had to talk. We literally go, "This is the Glenn Little show," and then that will be it for the next hour. Honestly, he is hilarious. But you're right.
Yeah. He's a funny lad. Yeah, it was funny because when he was that loud and that talkative. When he did leave and went to Bolton on loan, the dressing room was so quiet. When he'd gone, he didn't realise how much he actually did talk until he wasn't there. And I don't know who took the mantle up, but no, he was a big miss. Great player as well, top player.
That sounds it. And up front, who have you gone for as your centre forward?
I've gone for a lad who I was an apprentice with. I was in the age group of Matty, Francis Benali, a lad called Andy Cook, and the year below us there was a few players who went on to have good careers.
Yeah.
He scored a hat-trick on his debut when he was 17 against Arsenal, and he went on to bag a few goals there on in.
Definitely.
Yeah, he was...
Go on, Andrew. Go on then, Andrew. Say it.
Mr. Alan Shearer?
Correct. Yes.
Yes.
Right. Yeah, Alan Shearer. I mean, obviously, I played a few games with him in the first team at Southampton, but the majority of the time it was either, youth team football, but just training alongside him. And you could see as a young lad, he was physically how well developed he was. He was like a man when he was 17, and he got his chance against Arsenal. And we were playing in the reserves, because back then, Marv, the reserves played on a Saturday, didn't they? In the combination.
That's right, yeah. 2:00, yeah.
We were playing against West Ham, and we'd drawn 2 each, and we were getting on the bus, and obviously there was no mobiles and there was no Twitter, and you couldn't get the scores. You had to wait for the radio to tell you what was going on. So we got on the bus, and unbelievable news down from the Dell, and this young lad Alan Shearer, 17, he scored a hat-trick against Arsenal, and like Arsenal were the team at the time, obviously, with Tony Adams and Bold at the back, and the great players that they had, and like Shearer, he just went from strength to strength after that. He was an incredible footballer. Scored obviously a hatful of goals, and he's ended up being a top striker, hasn't he? So I would say,
was there a particular scout or something? Because I mean, yourself being from up north, Shearer, I know was from obviously not north. Was there a particular scout who was recruiting you guys?
There was Jack Hickson was the name of the scout, and his cousin, who was called Jackie Robson, he worked in the Durham area, and they had like Phil Parkinson. Jackie Robson got him down, who's now manager at Sunderland. Neil Maddison, Tommy Woodrington was another lad who
players,
Tommy Woodrington as well. Barry Wilson. So there was, at that time, there was a lot of schoolboys, because the system was different. There wasn't academies. You just went down to the clubs at schoolboy weeks. We never trained in the car park, mine, down at Southampton, like you did, man.
No, I know. But I mean, the only other thing I was going to say to you is, was Southampton the only choice you had, or was there clubs a little bit closer to home that maybe should have a little bit interested in you as a kid?
Yeah, I could have gone to Sunderland as a schoolboy as well. And I had trials. I went to Tottenham and Forest and West Brom and Everton. There was lots of clubs at the time, but Southampton had this reputation of bringing through young lads, and I decided to go down there. It was a long way, obviously, from Newcastle, but it was a good decision. Tough at the time when you go down and you're away from home and etc. But there were some good lads, and I think you'll agree, Marv, when you're an apprentice, that 2 years that you spend together as apprentices, when you're cleaning boots and you're squabbling for kit and slips and making sure you've got your gear for your pros so you don't get called into the dressing room in front of everyone. It was great times, a great character building.
Best times for me. The best times,
Yeah.
Who are you? Who did you clean the boots for in the Southampton team?
When I first went, it was Mark Wright, the big centre half who played for England, and Steve Baker. They were the two that I got, and then I got
who? Sorry,
Steve Baker. Steve Baker, who was another lad from the northeast, and then Chris Wilder was a year above us as Sheffield United manager, and then I cleaned his boots when he went to be a pro as well. So yeah, it was they were good days, great days, and I think if I could change football today, it would be bring back jobs for the scholars and let them a bit of discipline and all the rest of it.
Yeah.
It was brilliant for us, because the youth team manager we had, Dave Merritton, was very strict and very he was aggressive, but he was a good coach as well, and he was trying to bring you up to be able to cope to be in a man's world, because that's what football was back then. There was no hiding place, even if you were a young lad.
No.
You made your debut early, Marv. and you had to be able to stand up and to be counted in amongst,
Of course.
you know, the Nick Harford, Steve Foster, Les Seeley, these types of lads you were playing with. You know, if you're in the first team, you can have you can get a good bollocking off them as well.
Yeah.
That's the way it works.
When I spoke about it with on the podcast with Andrew on his podcast about having to grow up quickly and fast, and I agree with you. I think if there's one thing which we could bring back, which builds character, in my opinion, I'm sure in your opinion, is when you just have to be held responsible to do jobs. You know, you're doing the dressing room, you're doing the footballs. I mean, if who's on the balls? These balls, and the pros were like, boom, kick it. It's shit. It's soft. The ball's too soft. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Things like that. The pros used to basically run how the show went. And I said a couple of times, I remember coming in the dressing room and you didn't really want to go in the dressing room as a kid, especially if the bus was leaving at 5 to 10 to go to Vauxhalls at the time in Luton to set up the stuff for the pros. If you so happened to go in that dressing room, I can remember going in once or twice, and it'd be like Fossey go, "There he is, Marv, yeah." And it's like 5 to 10. The bus is leaving. Yeah. Marv, go down the bottom of the road. What do you want? What do you want, Steenie? Yeah, I'll have a sausage and egg. Yeah, what do you want? Yeah. And I can't say no. I'm literally now having to run down the road, get their breakfasts and their soups and whatever, bring it back up, give it to them, and then literally go out to see if the bus is there. No, gone. And then get a lift with one of the pros and get a rollicking from the youth team manager as they get up to the Vauxhalls. Where the FNL you been? We leave at 5 for 10. Sorry. I'm sorry. You know what I mean? What can you do?
We had one scenario at Southampton where we'd been training or they'd gone back to the Dell and all the kit, the pros had put it in a pile. Well, it was all over the place in the dressing room, but the PFA were coming in and they wanted to speak to all the pros and all the apprentices about, I don't know what it was about, to be fair, but so we all went up to the old players lounge at the Dell. Remember it, Marv, where you used to go up the steps? We're all there. So Dave Merritt, our youth team coach, comes bursting in halfway through the meeting. Ground staff downstairs. So we all the apprentices had to come out, go back down to the dressing room, and he took us in the dressing room and he said, "That's not good enough," and pointed at all the kit and all the rest of it. And he said, "Right, back in here at 1 o'clock, go and get your dinners and come back." So we came back and we thought we're just going to get a bit of a dressing down. Listen, lads, don't leave the kit. I know you've had a meeting, etc., etc. Just tidy up after you. And he said, "Right, trainers on." So we all got our trainers on. He's marched us down to the pitch side, down the steps at the Dell. So we've all congregated at the corner flag, and he's gone, right, 40 laps.
40
laps, and he just stood there, and we were like, 40? What, 40? 40 laps? He went, yeah, 40 laps. I'm going to sit in that stand, and I'm going to count them off. Like that. Off you go. So we set off round the Dell. It was on a Thursday. We were playing on the Saturdays. 40 laps. It took us an hour and 3/4 to do it, non-stop. And he just sat in the stand. 1 every time everyone ran past. 2, like that. It was unbelievable. But I tell you what, we never left the dressing room untidy again.
Yeah, exactly.
And that was the moral of the story. He was a hard taskmaster, but he taught you good things and disciplined. And there was another one where we got beat off West Ham in the South East Counties Cup 5-0, and he got us in at 6 o'clock in the morning the next day. And he said, "If you're not prepared to work hard," he said, "you might be doing this for a living. Think yourself lucky where you are," and all this sort of stuff. And you know, there's no excuse for not working hard in games. And he was brilliant, Dave. Superb.
So talking of kind of how to manage youngsters and things like that, who would you say then is the best manager you've ever worked under, and why?
I think it's close between two. I didn't have that many managers in my career. I had Chris Nicholl at Southampton. I had a spell at Notts County when Neil Warnock was manager. He was entertaining, as you can imagine. Steve McMahon I had at Blackpool. And then the two, it's between Lennie and it's between him and Stan Turnant, who were the best. I don't know if you remember, Marv, when Terry lost his job, David Kohler, Andrew, got us into, he got me, you, Marv, I think, Mitch, Gary Waddick.
Yes.
And I don't remember whether there was anyone else, but he got us in the boardroom and he said, Terry's gone and we're going to appoint very shortly, but it's between two managers. Can you remember, Marv? And there was two managers that it was Mike Walker, who had been
yes,
been a Norwich manager,
and went to Everton. I don't know whether he'd been to Everton previous or whether he'd gone to Everton after Norwich. But he said it's Mike Walker or it's Lennie Lawrence, and he asked us as the senior pros. He said, "What do you think? Who do you think?" So I think we all said Lennie. Lennie obviously got the job, and we got Lennie the job, apart from his interview.
No, I mean, I remember that actually. Funny when you said Mike Walker, I remember. I had nothing against Mike Walker, but I remember the time when they got us in. Lennie just, I think, for me, obviously, was Charlton, and it'd been in that situation where he was like worked well with like a low, like not a big budget, and so was used to maybe like Charlton rescuing them and was a saviour of keeping teams up, and it just seemed the natural choice. And I think you're right. We all said Lennie, and similar to yourself, Lennie would be up there for me. I mean, talking to a lot of Luton fans, they didn't really appreciate Lennie that much, but he really was a top manager in my opinion.
I can remember the years when he was just being hounded down at the enclosure, the bottom corner by the tunnel. They was literally because I was only a young kid then in that area, and we used to sit down there with my old man, and literally just spitting at him, throwing things at him. And you can always tell when it's bad at Luton when they actually pull the plastic out. If they normally leave the tunnel as normal, you know, these are going to be all right. But as soon as they pull the plastic out, you go, geez, this ain't good. It's not going to end well, is it? Just to protect them.
There was no hiding place in that corner when you came off, was there, if you'd been beaten?
I don't know if you were still there at the club when, remember the dressing room the time with Kim Grant that time? Was you there?
Yeah, I was there with Grant, yeah.
Because Darren Patson was staying at my house, Darren Patson, and we were both like injured, I think, and we went out. So I wasn't playing, and so but Kim was playing, and it was a case where like Kim was sub. I think it was sub, but like Lennie knew Kim from the Charlton days. I think he signed him as a youth team player, and it was a case where, myself, Patso, we weren't playing, but we were in the dressing room listening to the team talk, and so Lennie's doing his team talk, saying, and Kim Grant's sitting right in the corner by the door as you come in, as you walk in by the door. And Lennie's got his side talking, saying, "Look, we've got to start really quick today. We've got to be on the front foot. We can't let them in game in no whatsoever. We cannot let them in the game." And then just from nowhere, didn't it, Steve? He went, "Yes or no? Was you out last night?" I was like, whoa. And Kim, to be fair to him, was like calm, straight face. "No, Gaffer, I wasn't out last night. If I catch you lying, that'll be it. Your feet will never touch the ground, boy." Wasn't he? It was like from nowhere. He was doing his team talk, and then he just turned around. "Yes or no? Was you out last night?" Wow.
I don't know whether it was the same time as well, but everyone was congregated in the physio's room as well, in Clive's room. And he goes, and without looking into it, and he goes, "And that goes for you lot sat in that room as well." I don't know whether it was in that instant or whether it was another time. Pressure, but he was great, Lennie. Can you remember when we arranged to go on a Christmas night out as well? One time, and he said, "Right, go and have a good time, but I'm telling you now, if anything ends up in the papers, you are going to be effed with a capital F."
Capital F. Yeah.
Mark my words.
Yes, he was. And another thing I remember, he knew how to look after the sort of the older players, because yourself, me, Mitch, Gary Waddick. On the Monday after the game, it would go, you go on the bike. You can just have a little relaxing day. You four, and so you knew during the week you put a shift in, and come the game, if you put another shift in, you'd have not a day off, but a relaxing Monday because we were the older players and he was looking after our legs.
Yeah.
Well, you got him his job. Maybe he knew.
That's right.
Yeah.
But it was great, Andrew. I mean, and I understand he did get a bit of stick towards the end, like, but you think of the young lads that he brought into the team as well. You know, like Sean Evers at the time, and Springy, and Macca was playing, and Kelv, and you know, and Stuart Douglas, Fotiadis. There was some good young players there that he helped bring through.
Sorry, you just remind me of something there. I'm not trying to be horrible or anything, but like he was a little bit weird. Can you remember the lad who come on the left foot at Ipswich and he was like had a funny haircut? Can you remember the young lad? What was his name? You used to say Jimmy Cox. You know it. Yes, Jimmy Cox. Yeah. He was very didn't talk, did he? He was very quiet and just used to just stare.
Yeah, he was from Gloucester.
Gloucester.
Yeah.
No.
Not that there's anything wrong with Gloucester for anyone that's listening from Gloucester, but he was quiet. He was a quiet lad, wasn't he? Andre Scarlett as well, another one.
Yeah.
I remember him. Yeah. He was a short little quick guy, wasn't he?
Yeah, he was. Yeah, he was another decent player as well. But
Coxey, I don't know how do you remember his name just like that?
I don't know.
Cox as well.
Yeah,
Jimmy Cox.
I can remember. I think he made his debut against. I might be completely wrong here, but I'm sure it was against Oldham when we wore the away strip, that yellow, and not the yellow, the orange. The orange kit at Kenilworth Road for some reason, but no, he was good, Lennie. Anyway, getting back to Lennie,
he was. Yes, he was very good.
We interrupted. Is Lennie then your number one manager, or are we talked all this and then you're going to pick Stan Tennant?
I was going to say, despite all these good stories,
it's Stan. Is it Stan? It's Stan?
Well, like Lennie, Stan was, when I went back to Burnley, he sort of sold it as, you know, I want to build a team around you, and we're going to have a bit of investment in the team, and we will get promoted. That's the plan, and we're going to go on from there. And sure enough, we did end up getting promoted, but he was a great man manager. He got the likes of himself. He got Mitch in eventually. He got Bowley in, Cookie, you know, good experience, Mickey Mellon, experienced players that you knew he could rely on a Saturday and could run the dressing room to a degree as well. But I think the art of a good manager is you always knew who the gaffer was. And when it came to the crunch, if the gaffer spoke, you all listened, and you had that respect of everyone. But Matters I had to like. He was completely and utterly nuts, like, especially when he gave up the cigarettes just after Christmas every season. And we used to go at the physio. How was he? So I said, oh, and he would go, no, not so good today, lad. We just knew we were in bother that day in training. So, but great manager. We still speak to him now and go and see him, and he's a real good character, real character.
So did he choose for you to go to Luton, and then did he choose to bring you back, or what was the kind of the story behind that?
No, when I came to Luton, I was out of contract. We'd just been relegated from the Championship, and they'd offered me a contract, and I decided it wasn't. I thought it was worth more than that, and we just obviously got relegated. But it wasn't really money oriented. It was more the fact that we'd got into the Championship, and I wanted to stay in there. I didn't want to go back to League One. So Luton were the first ones to come in. Birmingham also showed a bit of an interest, but I came down and met the chairman because the manager hadn't been. In fact, no, Terry Wesley actually rang me up, and he said it. He rang me up and he said, "Was that Steve?" And I went, "Yeah, it's Terry Wesley." And I went, "Who?" Because he'd been youth team coach, and I didn't know who he was. I hadn't come across him. And he said, "Oh, I've just been given a job at Luton. Would you be interested in coming to speak?" So I thought, yeah, that's great, because obviously played at Luton a few times, and great history at the club with being overachievers and being in the old First Division for so many years. And so came and spoke, and I thought, yeah, it sounds good, this, and I was delighted to sign after a tribunal. I'm sure David Kohler wasn't so pleased when 750,000 came out for the tribunal, man. But anyway, it was a great move, and I had fantastic 3.5 years at the club, and obviously met the likes of Marv and Grezza and Kelvin, Macca, lads like Dave Oldfield that you still speak to now. And I think that's the sign of a good club, when you can not see someone for 10 years, but as soon as you see them again, it's like you were back 10 years ago, and the dressing room still, there was a great bunch of lads. And the only regret is I wish we got promoted that year when we got into playoffs.
Oh, God.
I think we were good enough to.
Was that against Crewe? Was it Crewe we lost to?
Yeah.
We were good enough to get out that league. And
again, I mean, do you remember the Lennie speech afterwards?
I can't. No, I can't.
No. So the first game, I got injured. I was injured or something, and I missed the first game, and we got beat.
Jules got sent off, didn't he?
Jules got sent off, and then we got beat. Was it 1-0 or 2-1? No, 2-1.
2-1, wasn't it? Yeah, I think so.
2-1, and so this game back at Kenilworth Road now. I'm now fit. I'm playing. We take the lead, don't we? We take the lead, and then we score again, don't we?
Yeah. Dave Oldfield, I think, scored both of them.
Yeah, scored both, and then Adibola, wasn't it? Just, I mean, he popped up and stuff, and I don't know why I can remember this, but I mean, maybe it's just a Lennie moment for me. But he come in after the game, and he's like, everything's all quiet, and he's going, so we go 1 up, and I'm thinking, it's a good start. It's a good start. We go 2 up, and I'm thinking, what am I going to be wearing at Wembley? What suit am I going to be wearing? And then all of a sudden from nowhere, you lot fuck it up.
I can't remember that.
Do you not remember that? Oh my God! Yeah, 1 up, and then 2-0 up. I'm thinking about what suit I'm going to wear, and then all of a sudden, you lot fuck it up.
That is typical Lennie, isn't it?
It is, yeah. But that, you're right. That was really, when I look back now, I mean, probably blanked it out of my head. That probably, is one of the biggest things. We beat them 7-0 in the league that year, didn't we? Well, season.
6-0 at Kenilworth, yeah.
Was it 6-0? Yeah. I mean, so, and we should have gone up automatically, because we were like probably easily the best team in that league, I would have thought. Looking at the games, I can remember playing the games week in, week out.
We finished third, I think. We were clear. We had that third hoodoo. That kind of, whoever finishes third never goes up. I think that's what happened.
Yeah.
Right.
It was disappointing because it was Brentford who got into the final as well with Crewe, wasn't it? And they were completely different styles, weren't it? Brentford were back to front with Carlos Saba and people like that playing. And but it was disappointing that. Very disappointing because we were good enough, like you said, to go up.
Yeah.
So, Marv, your question of the week and the pod about Luton. I think you've kind of may have answered it, Steve.
Yeah. Your most memorable Luton game and why?
Yeah, we have mentioned it. It was the Luton Cup game. I think it wasn't a full house at Kenilworth that night, but it was just one of them early round, cup nights where it was a nice night. It was great to play at Kenilworth, like I said previously, in night games against a good football inside, and just the way the game went, the fact that we came back into it, and then obviously from my point of view, I'd scored, and then I'd scored the own goal, and then Marv popped up with a winner, and it was just a great night. It was, I don't know, sort of. If you'd written that and sort of put it in front of someone, this is the way the game's going to go, they would have said it was a bit too far-fetched. But it was just one of them nights. And then obviously we went on to have a good cup run that season as well, I think, on the back of that. And that was I think that was my most memorable one. Yeah, definitely. But we did have some good nights in that run as well, didn't we? Against Coventry and Barnsley.
Coventry and Barnsley, yeah, we
in
did.
the quarterfinals at Sunderland. So, but yeah, that was my most memorable one.
Excellent. And again, like, I want to thank you for coming on here, Steve. It's been a pleasure to catch up again and have a chat with you. Just for some of the listeners, Burnley, Luton, and whatever. Just tell us a little bit what you're doing now. What your situation, if you're still involved in the game, sort of thing.
Yeah.
What are you doing now at the moment?
Yeah, no problem. It's been a pleasure being on. Really enjoyed it. Thanks. And I'm UK scouting manager at Everton now. So I'm part of the scouting recruitment department. So just getting out. Well, not at the minute, not getting out of games, but being fortunate enough to go around the world and be at different tournaments in South America and stuff like that, and covering Premier League games, and but also covering under 23 games, under 18 games, and League One, League Two. So it's a diverse role, but it's really good, really enjoyable, and part of a great club with some good people there as well. So I'm very fortunate to still be involved in the game that I think we all love.
Excellent.
Fantastic. So you're part of James Rodriguez, were you? You scouted him?
Yeah,
I didn't scout him, unfortunately. You
didn't get a free trip to the Bernabeu or to the Allianz or something?
No, I didn't, unfortunately. No, but yeah, all part of the process of bringing players in and stuff, and it's very exciting. And obviously with the manager we've got as well, with Carlo Ancelotti in charge, it's we've got one of the best managers in the world. So hopefully we can manage to have a good season this year.
Good luck.
It's the third time, apparently. Yeah. Sorry, the third time he's apparently signed for him, isn't it? Rodriguez.
Yeah,
the third time.
It's Madrid and Bayern Munich as well. Yeah, so hopefully he can produce his form from the World Cup.
Yeah,
when he was goal scorer. Yeah.
Okay then.
All right. Well, thank you very much, Steve. Like I said, we really, really appreciate your time, and thanks very much for coming on My Best 11 podcast. And have you got any final messages you want to give across to, obviously, all your fans and all the clubs you play for? Is there anything you want to say to them?
I think just obviously we're in the eve of the season, so for all the clubs I played for, good luck to all of those. When hopefully supporters will be back in stadium soon, and obviously from a Luton point of view, get behind Jonesy. He was another one, Marv, when I first signed, he signed at the same time, but never got involved with the first team. But you've got a really good manager in him, really enthusiastic, and despite the fact that he left to go to Stoke, I think he's proved at the end of last season what he's capable of, and hopefully this year you'll be mid-table and looking upwards as opposed to looking downwards. So good luck to everyone at Luton. Hope it's a great season.
Excellent.
Thanks so much for your time, and take care. Thanks very much, Steve Davis.